From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. So very happy to see you here with us. And good morning to our friend Miller over in the Weather Center. How's it going?
Little fire going on over here. It's cold out there.
Yeah.
My goodness, man. You know, those bones really start to ache when it's so cold out. Now, do you like cold weather, warm weather?
You know, it just depends. We went on a few hikes this past weekend and it was nice and chilly, but as long as you keep moving, it's a good balance. You know, you get the sweat working a little, and so that's the only thing that gets me moving fast is the cold weather. I got to keep going, or else if you stop, then
true.
Start to shiver.
Well, it's one of those mornings, folks, where you want to keep moving. If you got a nice hot cup of Joe, you might want to partake in that. Also, maybe warm the car up a few minutes early as you head out this morning. As we take a live look downtown, courtesy of Stockman Banks Weather Cam. Look at that temperature. We're down to 13 right now at the airport. It feels like 5. Wow. Winds out of the northeast at about 5, and we're going to be cold for the next couple of days. Now, yesterday we got above average, just a few degrees above the norm. We hit 40 here in Billings. We should be around 37. Nighttime lows, we're a little bit colder than normal, and we're going to be on pace with our nighttime lows, I think. But moving forward, outside of today and tomorrow, we're going to warm right back up with our daytime highs. Winds gusting of about 25 miles an hour yesterday. Shouldn't have to worry about that outside of being around Livingston, the Nye area. Maybe not today, but Tuesday into Wednesday, you could see some gusts up to about 50 miles an hour. So winds outside of those areas should not be a factor. So you take a look at those temperatures out there right now in the teens and single digits across Montana and northern Wyoming. Highs today mainly in the 20s. We'll see some 30s as well. We'll hold on to that as we get into tomorrow, before we start to warm back up middle of the week. By Friday here in Billings in the Magic City, we could be knocking on the door of 50. Wouldn't be surprised if we get back there again. But there's your day planner. A lot of sunshine with some clouds this morning. We'll start to see those clouds move in a little bit later on today through this evening. And that could give us maybe some light freezing drizzle. Maybe some flurries out there, and we have a chance to see some patchy fog tonight through tomorrow morning as well. But other than that, so far the weekend's looking pretty darn good. Opposite day. What does that mean to everybody out there? What does that mean to you? An opposite day. Now, we had talked about our opposite stuff earlier, Victoria. It's not really an opposite. It's just an inside out thing where my oldest daughter likes to once in a while puts her shirts inside out and have the tag on the outside. Mm-hmm. It's just her thing. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. That's good. She can change up her ways, because I think as you grow into an adult, we all become creatures of habit. And so when one little thing is different or opposite, it kind of throws us off. I mean, I think if I think about it and had to sleep on the opposite side of the bed, you know, do a little switcheroo with my husband that would throw me off.
That would be really weird.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting question. We may have to throw that up on the Facebook. Are you married to the one side of the bed?
I am.
I am too.
I can't.
You know.
And we were just watching Criss Cross, by the way, because they would do
What were
their
they
clothes
doing?
backwards. Did you see Criss Cross?
What's he doing?
They had their backwards clothes on.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. That's what that was all about.
Good. Well, you know I'm a big Criss Cross fan.
Yes, I know. Miller, it really is. That's what
you look at me and
dresses
honestly,
like when he
look at me and you
walks in here.
think, look at me and you think instantly, rap music.
Yes, that guy loves the Criss Cross. He still has the cassette that he plays in his boombox.
My cassette.
Yeah. No, he doesn't.
Right next to my VCR player.
No. All right, Miller. The old ones that opened on the top, you know, that you loaded and
I'm just going back up here.
I'll get to the news. Enough making fun of you. Bye-bye. Our top story this morning: for the second time, an article of impeachment against former President Donald Trump will be delivered to the Senate. Although the House voted to impeach him earlier this month, this next step will be an uphill battle for Democrats. CBS's Naomi Ruckham has the latest.
In a similar scene to the first impeachment trial against former President Donald Trump, 9 members of the House of Representatives will walk through the Capitol tonight to physically deliver an article of impeachment to the Senate. This time, the charge, incitement of insurrection for the January 6th assault on the Capitol.
I hope conviction, ultimate disqualification are the very first powerful steps toward unity in our country moving forward.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has appointed impeachment managers who will serve as the prosecution, while all 100 senators sit as the jury. The trial is now set for February 8th, after Republicans asked for a delay.
We already have a flaming fire in this country, and it's like taking a bunch of gasoline and pouring it on top of the fire.
Some Republicans believe impeaching a former president is unconstitutional, but Democrats disagree and plan to move forward.
It is constitutional. We have precedent from way back when a Secretary of War was tried after he had left office.
In order to convict former President Trump, all 50 Democratic senators would need to vote in favor, and 17 Republicans would have to cross the aisle. Some are hinting they might.
I believe that what is being alleged and what we saw, which is incitement to insurrection, is an impeachable offense.
According to the Associated Press, federal law enforcement officials are looking into a number of threats aimed at members of Congress as the trial approaches. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
A new report from the Wall Street Journal alleges President Trump pressed the Justice Department to go directly to the Supreme Court to try to overturn the results of the election. Meanwhile, stimulus talks have restarted, but the pathway appears bumpy. President Joe Biden's proposal to boost the U.S. economy and efforts to fight the COVID-19 pandemic is facing some opposition. CNN's John Lawrence reports.
President Joe Biden says the American Rescue Plan is a top legislative priority. On Sunday, a top White House economic official discussed the $1.9 trillion package with a bipartisan group of senators, a source on the call tells CNN.
I think considerable progress came out of that in terms of building consensus for this plan.
While Biden is pushing for Republican and Democratic lawmakers to work toward an agreement, there's some criticism from the GOP.
We need to understand where the money is going. Are these to individuals or to entities that really need the help? How has the first $900 billion we just passed a couple of weeks ago, how has that been distributed?
Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine tells CNN more funds are needed for vaccine distribution, but adds the additional stimulus checks that the president is proposing are not well targeted. If both sides can't come to terms, Senator Bernie Sanders says the Democrats may use reconciliation, a rare and controversial tactic that could push much of the relief package through.
That is 50 votes in the Senate plus the vice president to pass legislation desperately needed by working families in this country right now.
As Biden waits to see what happens with the plan, he's taking other COVID-related actions, like reinstating international travel restrictions former President Donald Trump moved to ease on his way out the door. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
The Biden administration says medical advisors suggested the travel restrictions prior to President Biden's inauguration. President Trump signed an executive order lifting such regulations that was supposed to take effect on Tuesday. The move comes as the United States passes 25 million confirmed COVID-19 cases. More than 400,000 have died while infected with the virus. A new model suggests there could be 100,000 more deaths before May 1st. Here in Montana, there have been more than 91,000 confirmed cases and over 1,100 deaths. There are 17 other countries in the world that have reported more than 1 million total COVID-19 cases. Statistics like these have made for a difficult and challenging year for healthcare workers. They're experiencing exhaustion, heartbreak, illness, and more as they fight through this pandemic. But as MTN's Joe Valley reports, in spite of it all, people are stepping up to join the fight.
If you didn't know what a respiratory therapist was before the pandemic, you probably do now, as they're saving lives in the fight against COVID. It's a battle attracting many new healthcare heroes.
We have seen an uptick in interest in healthcare careers in the wake of the pandemic. I think a lot of students are looking around thinking, I want to be part of the solution.
At Missoula College, the pandemic does not seem to be scaring students away. Enrollment is robust in the 6 healthcare programs offered. Learning in a pandemic can be tricky, but also unique.
One, we still get to go to clinicals, and we still get to physically learn from doing. And especially with everything going on with COVID, we're learning a lot of those safety precautions, and it's very real. There's a lot of hands-on learning, and even with the safety nets that we have with the masks and the gowns, and students aren't, going into the COVID rooms themselves. We get to learn by doing in this program rather than by watching, and I really enjoy that.
Many students come to Missoula College's healthcare curriculum already trained as a CNA or an EMT. It gives them a competitive edge, but more than that, it gives them a glimpse into the real world of medicine that isn't always pretty.
Some students have all they know about healthcare is they watch Grey's Anatomy, and they really aren't familiar enough. So getting a little of that basic entry-level experience, it really dispels any kind of false notions they may have about healthcare. When you're showing up at 7 a.m. to take care of sick people, you're going to figure out really quickly if healthcare is for you.
And the jobs are out there. Students often graduate with employment waiting for them. Missoula College is also looking into more outreach to rural areas of Montana.
Rural areas have the greatest shortages, and we're trying now to get some programs going to support Native American students, especially those that want to return to their reservations to provide healthcare assistance. We're finding we're making more of an effort to recruit students into rural facilities.
What Dan Funch sees is enthusiasm and a drive to succeed.
Whether we're talking about here in Missoula, throughout Montana, or nationwide, students with health degrees, they'll find that they're not necessarily lucrative, right? You're not going to be rich, but these jobs are very meaningful and they're very productive, and it's very easy to get employment in almost any place you'll look.
In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
Thank you, Jill. In other news, the man charged with multiple crimes related to the Capitol riot appears to be the brother of a former U.S. Secret Service agent. Preston Fairlamb led the detail for former First Lady Michelle Obama. His brother, Scott Fairlamb, faces charges tied to the riot. Scott Fairlamb's attorney says his brother Preston had no prior knowledge of his client's alleged actions. And according to the National Guard, roughly 7,000 troops will remain in Washington, D.C. through the end of the month. 5,000 will be there through mid-March, providing assistance with security at the Capitol. They're staying because some are concerned about potential unrest during the upcoming impeachment trial and President Joe Biden's first joint address to Congress. The ongoing deployment would be voluntary, and governors will have to agree to keep forces in the city. Montana National Guardsmen have already been told to return home by Governor Greg Gianforte. Since President Biden announced he would be stopping the permit to build the Keystone XL pipeline, there's been widespread outrage from Montana's political leaders. The pipeline would have cut through the eastern part of the state, and countless Montanans would have been hired to work on it. MTN's Matt Holzoffel has more.
His first foreign leader call will be on Friday with Prime Minister Trudeau. I expect they will certainly discuss the important relationship with Canada, as well as his decision on the Keystone Pipeline.
That decision by President Joe Biden to revoke the March 2019 permit awarded to Canada-based corporation TC Energy drew strong criticism from some of Montana's elected officials. So let's break down some of those claims. Let's start with this January 20th letter from Governor Greg Gianforte to President Biden. In the letter, Governor Gianforte makes the following claims. The pipeline has bipartisan congressional support in Montana. Thousands of American jobs will be lost, as will hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue to support local schools and communities. In 2015, Democratic Senator Jon Tester joined several other Democrats in voting with Republicans to override President Obama's veto of a bill approving the construction of the pipeline. Then in May 2016, the state of Montana filed briefs supporting TC Energy, then called TransCanada's lawsuit against the Obama administration. So that claim is true. The pipeline does have support from members of both parties in Montana. The next claim is something that Senator Steve Daines echoed recently, that revoking this permit will kill American jobs. This is a common claim, and while it's true, context is important here. The TC Energy Group has already said they will eliminate over 1,000 jobs after the permit was revoked. Back in 2014, the State Department released a report putting the total number of jobs created by the project at 42,100. However, that same report conceded that many of those jobs were temporary and said that over 16,000 of those jobs would be contract-based. Also, it's important to understand here that many construction jobs rely on temporary projects. According to the report from the State Department, once the proposed project became operational, it would only require 50 total employees in the U.S., 35 permanent, and 15 temporary contractors. As for the final claim that millions of dollars of local revenue will be lost, the State Department said property tax revenue during operations would be substantial for many counties. For reference, the proposed pipeline would have gone through 27 counties, including 6 in Montana. The total estimated property tax from the pipeline's first full year in operation, approximately $55.6 million, spread across the 27 counties.
And Matt also tells us in his letter, Governor Gianforte also asked President Biden to reconsider the executive order. Well, the stage is set for Super Bowl 55. The Kansas City Chiefs will face off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Chiefs, who won last year's big game, will be going for a back-to-back title. Meanwhile, the Bucs will become the first team in Super Bowl history to play on home turf since the game is being held in Tampa Bay. The Super Bowl 55 airs on Sunday, February 7th, right here on Q2.